I would love for this conversation to gift you with big things, even if you are not at all planning on coming on this retreat into creation energy. To me, this is an opportunity to just share far and wide and big and beautifully wisdom energy, sacred energy. What is the difference between Kundalini, Shakti energy as a sacred awakening energy in ourselves, and consciousness as a sacred energy awakening in ourselves, and the third, creation energy as a sacred energy to awaken in ourselves. So that's what I would love for this conversation to be about, is going into those three energies, talking about what each of them brings to us, what the combination of the three of them brings to us, why I'm seeing this as really a doorway into waking us up to our potentials, our like big potentials, more power within ourselves, but it's like an aligned power. It's like it's a sacred power, right? If we're working with sacred energies and we start opening up to power, it's like a wisdom energy. It's a wisdom power. It's a sacred power that awakens in us. And how does that move into daily life? So that's the other thing that's really different about this conversation and very much this retreat or programs that we do in ReWilding, is that it's not just about going and having a really beautiful spiritual experience. Those are wonderful. I think they're great and I think they're valuable. But for us, it's having the spiritual awakening and bridging that into our lives, like anchoring it in, grounding it in. So it's, yes, we live at higher states of consciousness. Yes, we live in states where we're experiencing more love, more bliss, more pleasure, more fulfillment, more purpose. All of those things come with these three energies, right? But we're not just escaping out of our daily lives to live in that state. We're actually in our lives. We're in our relationships. We're in our families. We're in our jobs. We're making money. We're doing the laundry. We're doing all the things from that higher state of consciousness, that higher state of love, that more awake way of living. And the beautiful part is the more alive, aligned, awake way of creating. So life, daily life is, we're creating our reality. We're creating our daily life. I create my day, right? I wake up in the morning, I create the whole day. I'm creating it. But now what if we had these sacred energies awake, alive in us, and we're conscious to them, but we don't have to work hard for them. So that's the other thing that I want to share around this is, it's not the mind, it's an embodied. So these energies, we work with them and they become embodied, they become a way of being. So it's not, so I don't want you to start listening to this and get overwhelmed like, oh my gosh, I can't possibly contain all of that information. You don't have to. It's not about thinking that information or holding intentions or having to think through things. It's you literally become something. You become something different than what you are now. You become something, you radiate something different. You create with something different. Your thoughts have a different energy behind them. Your actions have a different energy behind them. And wildly and weirdly and beautifully and perfectly enough, your thoughts and actions come from a different place. So they have a different energy behind them, but they also come from a different place. What does that mean? Your thoughts and your actions come from a different place. Your desires come from a different place. They come from a more soul-aligned place. So it's my thoughts, my actions, my desires. That's what leads me to create my daily life, right? I make decisions based on those things. I magnetize things in. I repel certain things away from me. But what if the thoughts, the actions, all came from a place that was much more aligned with the true you? This is profound. Much more aligned with the true you. What happens when your thoughts and your actions are much more aligned with the true you? Well, one, you can't get it wrong, right? Like, you can't get it wrong because it's coming from this deeper core of you. So what it is that you end up kind of automatically, we're always automatically magnetizing and repelling, right? Law of attraction, magnetizing, repelling. We're mostly unconscious to it though, but working in these sacred energies, what happens is we become conscious to it and we deepen into sit in a place that is true self. So I'm not creating from old wounds. I'm not creating from ancestral patterning that I've absorbed. So I just keep having bad relationships, or I keep having these experiences of lack of abundance or not enoughness or whatever they are. We deepen into true self. And what is true self? Another way of saying that is soul self, your soul. And listen to this beautiful part, right? So if we start to deepen into true self, soul self, which is what working with these three sacred energies innately, automatically, beautifully, perfectly does for us. Yeah. So what happens? We start to create thoughts. We start to take action. We start to magnetize and repel just energetically from true self. And then what happens when we start to do that from true self? Suddenly, the things that are coming into our world, the things that are being pushed out of our world, are true to our soul's experience. Therefore, it is extraordinarily fulfilling. And when things are fulfilling and on purpose, we're happy. We're joyful. We're full of bliss. We're full of pleasure. We feel alive. We feel aligned. We feel like life is meaningful. So do you see all of these things that we're longing for? Let's call them more like, happiness is not a surface level thing. Joy is not a surface level thing. Bliss is not a surface level thing. But let's just call them these like surface level desires that we can access. It's easy to access the fact that I want to feel alive every day. I want to feel purposeful every day, right? I want to feel that life is meaningful. I want to feel pleasure and bliss and joy. I want to feel that. So let's just call that the surface level that I can touch into, that I'm very aware of. But how do I get to a place where that is my reality, my experience, more and more and more and more and more and more and more? So it's like 22 hours out of the day, I'm feeling those things, those desires, that surface of things that I really want to experience, how I want to experience life. I'm feeling it 22 hours out of the day versus 3 hours out of the day. How do we do it, right? Without burning ourselves out, without like lists and like, what is my purpose? And like the mind getting involved. And like, I've got to think myself through this. Like I do mantras all day long and I got to stare in the mirror and I got to do, the whatever words to like activate the whatever thing. And I got to like work really fucking hard, right? I like it's work. But here's the beautiful part of this is these energies make it so it's not work. It's not work. It's a becoming. It's a becoming. You just innately become joy, bliss, happiness, purposeful, meaningful life. It just becomes your existence. It becomes your reality. But it's awakening dormant forces within. It comes from this deep core. Everything else is just a Band-Aid. Everything else is just a temporary Band-Aid. Yep, I can experience pleasure for the first 3 months of dating a new person because, oh my gosh, that's the, like the magical honeymoon phase of a relationship. And then, right? Or that's just one silly example of it. But there's many other ways of it's just a Band-Aid. It's just a Band-Aid. It's very temporary. It's not like a deeper state of being. And that's what waking up to more and more and more of these sacred energies, activating more and more of these sacred energies in the body, especially creation energy. So yes, Kundalini Shakti, we're going to work very powerfully with Kundalini Shakti. That's your aliveness. That's your interconnectedness to the all of everything. That's your capacity to connect into the web of life. It's also your capacity to tap into unlimited amounts of aliveness, unlimited amounts of vitality. That's one aspect of it. One aspect, Kundalini Shakti, right? It's very spiritual awakening. It's a very embodied awakening. It's awakening to sacred energies in the body, through the body, with the body, right? And it's very soulful, like Mother Earth. And then if we go over to the other the next energy that we're going to work with, if we said that was Mother Earth, this would be like Father Sky. This would be like consciousness. So if you see in the title, it's called Beyond Kundalini and Consciousness. So beyond, so yes, we're going to work with Kundalini Shakti. Yes, we're going to work with the essence, the raw, pure essence of consciousness and the power of consciousness. And we're going to work in that. We're going to awaken to more capacities within ourselves around consciousness. Many, many more. Consciousness can be permeating. Consciousness can be penetrating. Consciousness can completely shift the reality. It can completely shift the physical world. So we're going to work in that. Yeah. I mean, these are powerhouse energies to be working in. Just one of them alone, right? Changes our lives. Changes the trajectory of our lives, changes the potentials we're able to realize, changes the capacities in ourselves that open up. So a lot of times you work in these two energies, we'll talk about these two, you start to awaken like dormant capacities. You didn't know, right? You didn't know that you could magnetize something in without doing something. That you could magnetize, like that Kundalini Shakti, that capacity to like call in, manifest without doing, magnetize, allure it in, attract it in, right? That's part of Kundalini Shakti, capacity coming online. We all have it, but it's awakening to that capacity. Consciousness, one of the capacities is to permeate. It's an alchemizing energy. It's to permeate into something and you change it from one form to another. Consciousness, one of the capacities, dormant capacities when we work within consciousness, sacred energy, that psychospirit, this sacred energy will work with in this retreat. When you work with consciousness and you learn, right, to harness it, like this is big, it's like the cosmos of consciousness. It's not just like, I'm a little bit focused, right? It's like the all of everything consciousness, right? The entire atmosphere, the entire cosmos as consciousness that holds the infinite all of everything. That's something we can wake up in ourselves. And it has the capacity to permeate something, penetrate something, and alchemize it, meaning it takes it and moves it from one form into another form. From one form into another form. And we have the capacity to do that in the physical. I'm not just talking in our thoughts, right? Thoughts are easy. Emotions are easy. Energetics are easy. It's easy to change those things. Yeah, we're going to work in that territory. But now it's like physical matter, changing it from one form to another. That's the capacities that we're starting to work with in this retreat, in these explorations. And those are just one little dormant faculty to be switched on in those two energies. That's just one. There's an unlimited number of them, right? That's just one that I can kind of give us to like sink our teeth into and really understand what it is we're looking at. The other beautiful, amazing aspect of working in these energies is that they're wisdom energies. And so they work in us, around us, in our lives, through us, in a way that is always in alignment with where you're at and where your next greatest expression of self is at. Because they're soul energies, right? They're sacred energies, they're soul energies. So they're aligned with your soul's evolution, your soul's next best step. So the wisdom energy of those energies meets your soul exactly where it's at, and then awakens the dormant capacities, takes you to the next level, takes you to the next place for your soul's path. Right? So it's going to be a unique journey for you. It's like tailor-made for you. It's tailor-made for each person individually in this, let's call it a cauldron. Let's call it a sacred cauldron of awakening. So if you're feeling like, wow, this is way beyond me, this I have no experience in, that doesn't necessarily matter, because it meets you where you're at and takes you where you're meant to go. We're like right in alignment with your highest steps forward, your truest awakening, your truest dormant capacities coming online, your truest next step forward. Always, it can't do anything other than that. It can't. It just can't. That's how they work. So that said, this is, let's just be honest about this, this is an advanced retreat. It's an advanced retreat. Half of the participants who are signed up as I'm creating this conversation, this video, this exploration, what this is, half are ReWilding Mystery School graduates, Priestess Training graduates who've been doing this work, who are advanced practitioners and been doing this for a very long time. I love that. And I love that for those who are rookies, those who are brand new, those who are extraordinarily advanced in spiritual practices. I love it for the whole spectrum because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but it means that that cauldron of sacred energies, there's just a bigger vortex. There's more juice. There's a bigger vortex. There's a bigger ripple effect. So we don't just do this for ourselves, right? It goes way beyond just ourselves. I won't go into too much around that because that'll take us off on a tangent of, you know, this rippling out into your ancestral lines, like moving down, gifting your community, gifting those you work with, gifting your family, gifting your children, gifting your parents, gifting siblings, right? It ripples out far, far beyond us, far beyond us. Something I should talk, I'm going to get to creation energy. We're getting there. We're going to get to this third energy, right? Like the beyond Kundalini and consciousness into this creation energy. And what the heck is that, Sabrina? And what does it mean for my life? You know, you should be asking that question. Like, what does that mean for my life? What does that mean for my life? But before we get into that, I do want to talk a little bit about this aspect of this journey, this retreat, is that working in these energies will bring up our blocks to them. They just do. It's part of a very natural process around awakening to Kundalini, awakening to higher forms of consciousness, around our next greatest relationship to them, around our next capacity to, let's just call it what it is, wield these sacred powers, because you're becoming a wisdom keeper, a person who can wield these sacred powers into the world. You wield them, you move them into your life, into the world. And that requires training, and it requires really good sacred spaces, really good containers, and really good space to allow for the fears to come up. Fear of wielding that much power. Fear of how the world will respond to you when you step into this much sacred energy. Fear of how your body will respond. Fear of your responsibility. That's a big one that comes up for a lot of people, is the weight of the responsibility when we start to wield more and more power. We start to wield, it's genuinely power, and especially when we start to get into creation power, because that very much moves the physical world. It very much moves it moves the physical world. You're creating, you're working with creation. You are co-creator with creator. Deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. You become more and more and more and more powerful. It's incremental, right? This will be a springboard. These 4 days, this journey will be a springboard, but it's still incremental. It's still incremental. It still happens more and 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 more as you attune to these energies. As you attune, let's just talk about creation. As you attune to creation energy, you're able to wield, your system has the capacity to wield more and more of it. You move through, you release, let go of the blocks, to blocking it, to unconsciously blocking your power, unconsciously blocking your capacity to, let's say, magnetize in, or to, let's say, alchemize something, change it from one form to another. We unconsciously, we don't know that we're blocking these things. We don't know that we have hidden fears around them. Otherwise, we'd be doing it. Otherwise we'd be doing it. One, the energy is often not fully alive in us. It's not awake in us. It's not moving through us in big ways, right? And so that's part of what this is. It's just awakening, more activating more of it in ourselves, right? Like widening the bandwidth so we have more of this moving through us. Then it's becoming aware of it and how to work with it, how to work with it, how to, in this journey, giving that real good space to release the blocks, the limits, the restrictions we have on it, the fears we have, all of the things around embodying and embracing and expressing and really, really, really bringing it into our lives. Like you moving that sacred energy through you into your life, into your work, into your business, into your family, into your lovemaking, into your relationship. That's where a lot of the blocks are, because we want to keep it separate. This is my spiritual life and this is my daily life. Okay, but your spiritual life is really powerful. It's like sacred energies that are linked to creation, but we want to keep that separate. I don't understand that. I don't understand why that is that way. I don't understand why we have such a block in humanity, right? Like, this is my spirit time. This is my daily life. Right? Let me keep my spiritual powers over here, and my daily life doesn't. There's this division. We keep them separate. We keep them separate. It's like deep unconscious patterning. So we're very much going to work with that. Very much work with that, right? Okay, let's talk a little specifically about creation energy. Woo-wee. Let me feel for a moment. I'll share the history of how this came about in ReWilding. The history of this came about when I ran a mystery school on what happens when you very, very deeply, intimately work with Kundalini Shakti and consciousness. You work with Kundalini Shakti, exactly what we're going to do in this retreat, and consciousness. You work with the two. There's a third energy. So the two come together. We could call Kundalini Shakti the feminine. We could call consciousness the masculine. These are just frameworks. We don't have to go with those words. It's just a way of talking about it. But there's a union. You bring consciousness and life force. So life force can also be considered Kundalini Shakti, right? So you bring Shakti life force together with consciousness. Consciousness and life force, you bring them together, you unify them, you marry them. What's the third energy that gets created? What are you able to access? What powers, what potentials are you able to touch into? So what happened out of this was we ended up walking into a very, very deep journey around alchemy, becoming alchemists, very powerful alchemists. And then what I realized we were doing was we were working directly with creation energy. So this third energy was creation. It was creation energy. So it's creation energy. It's that which creates the cosmos, that which creates the infinite, all of everything. And what happens is we can work directly with that third energy, with creation energy. Now it obviously takes some work, right? Because that's some high voltage shit, right? That's high voltage shit. To be able to, as a human, tap into that which creates all of life, tap into it in ourselves, because it's in ourselves, as within, so without. If it's out there, it's in here, right? So we tap into it. We'll tap into it many, many different ways. Again, my job is to get you there. You don't have to know this stuff. You don't have to have any experience in any of this, with any of these three sacred energies. You don't. That's my job, right? Like, and I always say this, like, let me do my job. Don't take my job away. This is my job. Let me do my job. This is what I came here for. This is what is fulfilling for me. This is what's meaningful for me. This is my greatest expression of life force and of love through myself, is to get us there. One other little caveat, because I know that this is in some people's minds, as they're reading through things or they're feeling into things. This is a retreat where we will experience heights, right? We will walk into these sacred energies, and it will be done without chemicals, without substances, without any sort of external substance coming into our bodies. This is purely about waking up and working with this energy that is innately, authentically, organically in you, around you, outside of you. Part of the reason I love doing it this way, it's the only way, well, one, it's the only way I've ever done it, right? Is so, it's like, please do not take this the wrong way. I have deep respect for medicine journeys, deep respect for those who facilitate them, those who journey through them, deep respect for it when it's done in a sacred, safe way, with deep, strong intentions around the highest good of the infinite, all of everything. I have very deep respect for that. But to me, this is like learning how to do it without the need for anything. You don't need me, you don't need a substance, you don't need a ritual, you don't need a ceremony. You can do it for yourself anywhere, anytime, into any part of your life. That, to me, is what part of what makes ReWilding different, is that it's a genuine empower you to be able to access Kundalini Shakti, to be able to access consciousness, and to be able to access creation, and to move that into your life without the need of external substances, without the need of me, without the need of anything, right? You have the wiring, you have the knowing, you have the, to me, it's a, what we're learning is your body's learning it, your energetics are learning it, because it's such a gnosis, it's such an embodied knowing. That's what we're waking up in you. So it's becoming, you become it, and it lives in you. It's like it lives in you. The Kundalini Shakti lives in you. Consciousness lives in you. Creation lives in you. It becomes your direct teacher. It becomes your direct companion without the need for anything else. All right, let's talk a little more about about creation energy. Creation energy. So I gave you the little bit of a history around it, walking into that mystery school, working in the third energy, which is creation energy. And when we start to work in this third energy, this creation energy, when we wake up to it in our bodies, when we start to, it's like every cell of our body wakes up to more and more of it, wakes up to more and more of it. What starts to happen is that it aligns more and more to all of creation. I know, now I'm starting to get a little esoteric, right? It aligns more and more to all of creation. This is part of the reason why we don't have to think hard to do it, why we just become it, why we just start to then create. This will sound wild, but it's really genuinely walk this path long enough. You will experience this. This will become your reality, is you genuinely create with the creator. You and the creator, because you are awake to so much creation energy, right? You are aligned with so much creation energy that you just are creating in the highest good of the all of everything all the time, right? You are creating from that place. You are creating as connected into the web of life, as connected into creation. You are creating from that place. You become the hands of creation, the voice of creation, the body of creation. Your life, everything you create in your life comes from that place of creation. That's wild. Imagine that. Imagine the potentials in your life. Imagine what happens. And this is why I say that ultimately, this to me is really the only way to find fulfillment. It's the only way to find meaning. It's the only way, because you can't not find it. You can't not find pleasure. You can't not find alignment. You can't not find your truest true north, right? Your true north, your highest soul space. You can't not. Like, it just innately, organically, automatically happens. And why not work at the root? I don't want to work hard. I don't want to think about things all the time. I don't want to have mantras and like goal, like, you know, like lists of like, oh, this is my purpose. Blah, 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 blah. I want to just be it. I want to just let life force move through me. I want my consciousness to be on something, life force to be moving through me, Shakti, right? Life force to be moving through me, and then creation energy to be moving, weaving, dancing to create everything around me. Like that to me is one hell of a way to live. One hell of a way to live. All right, you'll know if this is your retreat. You'll know. I don't know what else to tell you. You'll know. You'll know. You'll feel it. You'll know. And I just absolutely trust that. I trust that creation is creating, right? And creation is creating through you, through me. Creation is creating the circle. Creation is going to create this journey for us. Creation, and you're going to watch all of that. Creation is just going to create it, and that's the intention I hold for the circle. Is those who are called by creation energy to be here, they will be here. They will be. I just trust that. I've absolutely turned it over, and I just trust that creation will create the circle. Creation will create this journey. Creation will create it. Create it for you individually, for me individually, for us as a circle as we journey through this. Creation will create it. All right. So much love to you.